All right.
Hello, welcome everyone to our West Cora webinar. We are excited to share some details about the project today. To get us started, we are going to start with a video of one of our most recent projects, Flats on 4th Ave. So I will go ahead and share my screen and get the video started. Give me just a moment. And here we go. All right, that gives a good look of one of our most recent projects. Just a reminder, a little housekeeping, that this webinar is being recorded. It will be emailed out to all participants tomorrow morning. So if there's any portions that you miss, you will get the full webinar tomorrow morning. But without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Joel, where he will introduce our new project, West Cora.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Tampion. I'm the CEO here at 4 Degrees Capital. We're super excited about a lot of projects that we have going on. Tonight, we want to share just one of those projects with you. This is one that we've dubbed West Cora. And we are very excited about this project. We have a lot of things in motion currently, and look forward to providing some of this information for you to see if you might want to participate in it with us. So a lot of our conversation tonight is going to be with Jordan and Dave, two team members here at 4Cap. They're going to provide kind of an oversight, some of the details. And as we go along in this, I would encourage you to get down into the chat or the Q&A feature of this call. And we want to be able to take some time at the end to answer some of your specific questions. So that being said, once again, we want to welcome you to our webinar this evening. And here's Jordan.
Awesome. Well, welcome to have you. I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to share the screen with you so we can get dialed in here. I know GU plays at 6, which is second most important behind the West Cora project. So take a look. I'm going to pull this up. Make sure it's everything to see. So everybody can see the 4 Degrees Capital slide. It's decorated, ready to go. So let's jump right in. Kind of what we're going to cover is a little bit about 4Cap. If you were on our Havana webinar, this will be familiar to you. If you weren't, this gives you just a little better idea of who we are and why we do what we do. And then we're going to jump into the numbers, have David kind of talk about the market and some of our strategic advantages and what we're doing, and then ultimately show you the product and then be available for questions. So we'll jump right in. A little bit about who we are at 4Cap. It's kind of a cool accumulation of different experiences. David brings a wealth of experience from the banking, lending, development side. Joel brings his much touted military prowess, but mostly helps us decide on management and how we design these units to be bulletproof for investors. So they're not just good when they're done, but they're good in 10 years. Still trying to figure out what I do, but it'll kind of come to fruition more and more we get through this. And then Matt kind of leads our charge on getting in front of investors, fundraising, and then ultimately finding deals, which is one of the stronger parts that we offer. So 4 Degrees Capital been around for now, we're just going into our almost second year, 1 full year. These projects though have ranged back from the last 4 years in Spokane, whether it was a historic rehab, ground up construction, the 4th Avenue project you saw there, a duplex project. And so these are just some of the numbers and multiples we've been able to achieve over the last 4 or 5 years, which ultimately led us to this decision to create 4CAP and start raising funds to also take advantage of some of these cookie cutter projects that we've been able to produce. So the link's in here. You can get access to this whole slideshow after we're done as well. So I'm going to move through it. Here's the kind of the structure of how we'll be set up with it. Manager, we kind of are raising for West Cora. We have a 80-20 split. And what's awesome is it's an 88 unit apartment project, and a $5.5 million raise is what we're targeting right now. So I'm gonna let David speak a little bit more about that and just kind of the market as we move into it.
Yeah, hello everybody. Thanks for making the time. We'll try to get through this so nobody misses any of the ZAG game. Let's see, Jordan, next slide, please. So why multifamily? Of all the different types of real estate out there, why do we focus on this and why do we like it so much? One, it's historically been an effective inflation hedge, so rents tend to keep up with inflation. It's tax advantage, the cash flow is. So under the Internal Revenue Code, a project like this will have really significant non-cash expense called depreciation, which offsets a lot of the income, if not all of the income in the early years. And so when you're looking at the returns in our financial summary or pro forma that we send, keep in mind that most of that, if not all of that income in the early years is effectively tax-free. And so when you're thinking about a return on investment that's of 6 or 7% that's tax-free, that's equivalent to a taxable yield of, probably a 9 or 10%, depending on your tax bracket. So the returns are very good, and it's an effective way to kind of hedge against inflation. The other thing we like about multifamily, which differentiates it from most other commercial real estate, is the financing that is available on the permanent loan side in particular. So the U.S. government has various agencies, HUD, I'm sure everybody's familiar with, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, but they provide a tremendous amount of liquidity for apartment projects that have been built. And that's much different. So if you own an office building in San Francisco or New York, or a retail center that maybe isn't anchored by a grocery store or something, you're going to have a hard time in 24 and 25 probably refinancing those opportunities. We're going to hear a lot more in 24 and 25 about property owners that are going to struggle to refinance and lenders that are going to take some properties back. But multifamily is unique in that the government is encouraging and wants to support affordable housing, and it does that by providing permanent financing through some of these government agencies. We also, value add there. Basically, 4 Degrees manages about 1,500 units. And so rather than just waiting for the market to appreciate, because of our in-depth experience and knowledge, which Joel oversees, we recognize, opportunities to raise revenues and to reduce expenses and to optimize the net operating income of the property, which benefits ultimately the property owner's cash flow and ultimately the property values. And finally, capital preservation. So historically, when you look at the data, good times and bad, multifamily has held up very well. relative to other property types. So we believe it's the risk reward ratio favors multifamily investment over other property types. Next slide, Jordan. So the other thing, even though, yeah, we've got a lot of units being delivered in Spokane, new construction that started last year that will be delivered in 2024, which I'm sure everybody's heard about and seen in the terms of home prices, is just a shortage of homes, and that shortage of homes has led to rapid appreciation in home prices. And what it's doing is it's forcing an increasing percentage of the population to rent. We've seen this trend really occur since the 70s, become more and more of a nation of renters. But it's been accelerated dramatically over the last 10 years, and even more so since the pandemic, with kind of the changes in remote work and demographic shifts, people moving out of large cities to places like Spokane and Boise. And so there's tremendous demand, but very little affordable housing supply. And so we'd have the option to build any type of housing type, but we focus on workforce housing that's affordable relative to the other housing opportunities. So that's one of the advantages of investing with, in this type of project, is that it's we're meeting a need in the community for affordable workforce housing. And here's this great slide really illustrates this. So we're at a unique point in history here where the gap between the cost to rent and the cost to own is as wide as it's been. And so it's, as we've all heard about, buying a home is increasingly unattainable for many. And this graph illustrates that. So you're effectively, for the same housing type, 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, you're going to pay $1,291 less per month to rent versus to purchase that same home, assuming you have the down payment. And as we look forward, it's hard to predict interest rates, but when we survey the big banks out there and you look forward to when this project will be completed, we see a favorable interest rate outlook ahead, where most of the big banks are projecting a decline in interest rates, an average of rate cuts of 1.3% by the end of 24. So that helps us when we get to the point of paying off the construction loan, getting the long-term fixed rate loan on the project. When interest rates are lower, obviously it improves our cash flow and helps the total return. So that's a favorable outlook. And here's this kind of an interesting slide too, in that we've been through this really unique period of time where inflation hit a 4-decade high, and so that tends to squeeze the budgets of your average tenants. And for the first time recently in Q4 23, average hourly wage growth exceeded inflation. And so that is an easing on the financial pressures that tenants will have, freeing up cash flow to rent new apartments that we'll be building. Next slide, Jordan. So in Spokane County, the rent growth has slowed year over year. Vacancy rates have continued to increase. As I mentioned, there's going to be a big supply of new apartments in the short term. We expect vacancy rates to peak at about 6.5%, potentially 7% by the end of 24, and then start to taper. And what we've seen nationally as well as locally is that new multifamily permits have dropped off dramatically, have slowed dramatically. So nationally, construction starts in multifamily are down 35% from the pre-pandemic period and 68% below their peak in Q1 22. So yeah, while there's going to be a short-term excess or increase in supply based on tightening credit and higher rates, we think that intermediate term, given the supply demand imbalance and need for affordable housing, that we're still bullish, very bullish on the intermediate and longer term prospects for multifamily housing in our market. And the other thing in Washington State that's somewhat unique is that we've got the urban growth boundary, or the Washington State Growth Management Act basically created an urban growth boundary around each city. And that boundary can't be modified until 2025. And originally and so basically the boundary determines where development can occur, where growth can occur. And when they passed this law, the concern was that urban sprawl couldn't extend out into the countryside, and we need to contain that. And the boundary was supposed to be, kind of a dynamic boundary that would expand and contract as communities grew. But the reality is the boundary is very difficult to adjust, political reasons, environmental reasons, legal challenges, and things like that. And so when you pair this boundary around the community that limits how much land can be built on and where land can be built on, and you combine that with the changes in demographics and in migration accelerated through the pandemic, you have a supply, and this also leads to a supply-demand imbalance, and it's unlikely to be changed for the foreseeable future. And so I think it's bodes well for multifamily housing owners in Spokane County in particular. So finally, on the bottom there, I guess, you've got several constraints to tightening credit. So since the Silicon Valley Bank failure, First Republic Bank failure, Signature Bank failure in 2023, we've seen a kind of a dramatic shift in the tightening of bank credit. And I'm sure that's happening to regional banks and banks across the country. And that's going to slow construction starts as well. And those terms have gotten a lot more conservative. So we think we're adding new units. Yes, we're starting when there's, a higher supply, but again, intermediate term, we're bullish on adding more units in Spokane County. Well, this is a great, you might want to take this one, Jordan, but this is a great infill location. We had a wonderful relationship with a gentleman that has a long history at the adjoining property owner, and we were able to secure this property just off of West Cora Avenue, which is between Lincoln and Division. And it's an infill location here just south of the Garland District, close to retail, schools, Corbin Park. And it's got very good soils and, a close-in location that's hard to find these days. So here's an image of the site, an aerial of the site. So it's 4.7 acres just to the west of Faith Bible Church. And another aerial that kind of shows the site there and some street view. As you can see, it's flat. This was an old city borrow pit. So they actually excavated it out for gravel, and then it was backfilled. So we've got some fill that we're going to have to excavate out the site and then backfill it with good structural fill over parts of it. And here's our site plan and kind of unit mix, roughly a 30% one bedrooms, 70% two bedrooms, a clubhouse, outdoor barbecue area, playground for the kids, a secure bike storage, carports, walking path around the perimeter, community garden plots. So it's, it's got a lot of amenities, close in location, and you're going to have excellent views, particularly to the south there from those upper floors looking down toward Corbin Park and the city skyline. Why don't you take these, Jordan, since you've built a few thousand of these units.
Oof, you're serenading me over here with all that information. So, no,
So,
what's crazy about this project is near and dear. Like every good investor, I bought my first home in 2007. It happened to be a block and a half away from here. So I've grown, kind of developed and flipped houses and kind of really have a unique experience version of what that area is and can be, which is really what led us to the project. Part of it was from the investor, but also was looking for ways to introduce some new infill product into those markets that are close access to bus lines downtown and major employment hubs. So a little bit about the design and features, what is unique. What's really awesome about our product is once you've seen one, you've seen them all, except for all we do is upgrades based on management feedback or maybe some site specific alterations that make sense. But there's our typical 1-bedroom layout. That's going to be similar square footage, around 570 square feet, which will be consistent with 1-bedroom in the market. The one thing we do much different too is we enlarge the window sizes. So you'll notice one thing conveniently missing from here is the decks. And that was kind of a conscious decision on our end to kind of eliminated. What we found was most of our buildings that had decks turned into storage units. Most of our windows that didn't have blinds or coverings turned into blanketed windows. And so those are some of the pieces we started looking at so that when you drive by this building after year 1 and year 5, it's going to have the same consistent look, feel, and quality each time you do. And so our 2-bed, 2-bath layout is just, I believe, just under 900 square feet. And that one's going to be kind of our most popular layout, living room, dining concept throughout there. So this is the product style. If you want to see inside one and to look, feel, touch the product, we could definitely do that. But this one will have a cool modern clubhouse that people can use. Again, David spoke to some of the amenities from the dog park to the walking trails. What's really cool is you're conveniently 3 blocks north of Corbin Park, which is a hangout for pickleball, basketball, kind of just events that happen in that area. We decided to keep the same look, feel of this product as well. You'll see the similar style. One big difference here is we did go with the 4-level building, which is something we're currently constructing. If you're driving on I-90 headed east or west, you'll now see it on the right-hand side, but really found like it gave us the more parking options and a better opportunity for condensing the site down and offering a better amenity package. So here's some of the interior finishes. So this is the one we didn't want to skimp on. We built to almost what's a condo grade quality with LVP plank flooring for not only look, feel, durability, value, but mostly it holds up really well. The countertops are all quartz countertops. All the cabinets are flat facing, slow close, hinge cabinets, stainless steel appliances. So what we wanted was people move in here and they don't want to leave because it meets every amenity asset, and then also they can really make it their own. So, but from a turnover perspective, that's where some of those little smaller square footages help us to reduce some of the turnover costs and some of the ongoing maintenance costs for what a typical layout is. Some things we also looked at was adjusting some of the bedroom sizes, making them a little smaller, but then adding the walk-in closet. And all of this stuff is really based on feedback that we've had from now having rented these units over the past almost 4 years of building this unit type. So numbers, assumptions, splits, returns, and more. And so we're targeting basically an overall development cost for this project of $19.5 million. There's a couple cool caveats that we're working through right now that could make this even more of a unique product. One thing we're looking at and really finding in this market is that you can't just find a piece of land and put an apartment building anymore. I know saying it even sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, but really for about a 5-year stretch, you could do that. And now every product has to have some strategic advantage, whether it's incentivized development, it's a strategic location, it's a deal on the land, a deal on some part of it. And so what's great about this is we kind of mixed them all on this one product. So the city had an incentive to help develop sites like this that were old parking lots or old lots, essentially. That's a parking to people incentive that we applied for. We're waiting for feedback from Department of Revenue, so it's not 100%, but it allows for a sales tax exemption on the build of this building. Well, in net effect, it's a almost 9% sales tax. That would be a direct savings to this. The other one, following the initiative of the city to develop more housing, is that this project also qualifies for a 12-year multifamily tax exemption. So the great part is we're able to work directly with the city to make these products not just a cookie cutter build, but something that really takes advantage of what the city's looking for and what they're also incentivizing to help ultimately the bottom line. So based on the 19.5, which does not include getting that incentive for sales tax. We're looking to raise a total of 5.5 million. The targeted IRR on this project is 22%. The net return for an investor would be a 2.6 equity multiple, and looking a target hold of 5 years. And really, we're finding that the 5-year hold sets us up for a pretty good position of being flexible on when to sell the asset, depending on what the market's doing. Our original model had a little bit more of a quick flip idea to it that was take advantage of low rates and more people come to the market. But as we've begun to develop more and more, that idea of holding it and providing consistent returns, and then ultimately an exit return on disposition has proved itself out. So this is kind of a good shot of kind of that parking area mixed in there. So plenty of parking for this site. Offer deadline is April 15th. So we're trying to accept and raise all funds and have them in by April 15th. We're looking at a targeted groundbreaking of May 1st. This kind of construction is about a 10-month build based on feedback from our builder. We are looking, and you'll see a 9 to 10-month lease up period, essentially. That's just because the market had been a little slower on lease ups. And so our hope is that if we start in May, we'll be delivering this product about this time next year, taking advantage of the better weather and some of the better opportunities that come with a renter season that we have in Spokane. The initial cash flow then, based on those two prerequisites, would be targeting 24 months after we break ground to start working on cash flow distributions, and then targeting a permanent loan financing solution within 120 days of stabilized occupancy. There's some quotes. Again, this is today. The rates are moving faster than the gas prices. So, but today we received a 35-year FHA quote at about 5.3%. Non-recourse loans. So you're starting to see some of this debt really fit better with specifically the product we're developing. So on the right-hand side, you'll see kind of a summary of those highlights I just discussed, but that's kind of the basics of the timing. We're in for permit. We got comments back, so we should be getting permits anytime. TW Clark is the builder on this project, and so they're going to be going out for bid with this part, and then we're finalizing some of the term sheets we have with lenders as we start bringing in the funds. So kind of what the process looks like. You're bold enough to jump on this call, which is awesome. So I usually have more jokes, but not today. But what it looks like is find a deal you love. We get you signed up on our portal, which is the first access point for any deal that we come across. Once you're kind of in our investor portal, you then get the first shot access to all of our deals. You can schedule a meeting with David, Joel, me, or Matt to kind of talk more specifically, whether it's questions about the deal or just our structure or our process of how we get them. You make your allocation, and then what's awesome about our system is it allows you to track it. One of the cool things was I thought development's so fun. Everybody has to love what I do. It's got to be awesome, right? Watching buildings come out of the dirt and all that stuff. Well, it is cool, but we decided on a little better version, which on all of our sites, we end up putting a camera. So with a link that you can access to track kind of the progress of it as it goes, whether it's a cool Christmas get together and you pull up your investment and show them, to just a good way for you to kind of stay involved. And what's awesome about it is we really want to make the whole process of development a transparent process. And so we schedule things with investors, whether it's walkthroughs on the site or just more information, whether it's in the framing session. So you don't have to go to any of them, but we do like to offer that kind of opportunity. And then you kind of use your portal to receive and track and really overview all of the financials, the actual PPM, all the loan docs, everything is in that portal for you as we track it. So we always forget something. And so what we decided was to offer a Q&A. So if you have a question, please feel free to submit it and we will answer them kind of in the order received. So the first question I have is, I'd love to see one of the projects and the layouts. How could I do so? So if you want to see one of the products, so we just finished the one on 4th Avenue, which is a very similar unit mix, layout, fill, finish, all that. Please send us a message to either to basically any of us, Monique, and we will get that scheduled for you. It's really easy to show. We're in the lease up period on it now, so we usually have a pretty daily presence out there, but feel free to reach out to get that scheduled. Next question. Sorry if this was already provided, but what are the rents on the units? I'm going to hand that to David.
So the one-bedroom units are $1,450 a month. The smaller two-bedroom units are $1,650, and the larger two-bedroom units, and those are two-bedroom, two baths, are $1,750 a month. And we've been able to, it's kind of our pro forma numbers for the Fourth Avenue project, which was the video you saw. And so we're hitting those numbers, and we're starting to lease that project up now.
Yep, and so we're trying to update that with the most up-to-date information on it. And so that's our project in current lease up. And so depending on what the market does in between there, but I know we definitely saw a drop from last year to this year from our pro forma to the actuals. But the cool part about this project is we're able to underwrite them based on where the market is at. And we don't see a ton of movement, not a lot of rent growth, but I also don't think a lot of rent decreases just because of the supply demand issue with them. And then really the reason the one bedrooms are that much is they were renting at a premium. That's typically the one that goes first. I think Spokane had a heyday of 2-bed, 1-baths there that they built a lot of. And so our goal with the 2-bed, 2-bath is that we offer the ability then for roommates or sharing or families, something that allows somebody to offset the revenue. One of our unit styles is called the dorm unit, and it could be set up really well for 2 individuals that could rent the unit. So really looking for ways to kind of make these functional and relevant well into the future. Jack, what do you think the hardest part about starting 4 Degrees Capital? I'm gonna say everything. It's one thing to build a project and have our money and do that part. I think what's been awesome is we put together a really good team, and each part of our team tackles that portion. But when we started developing, it was about 5 years ago, and probably the best 6 years ago. So it's probably the best 4-year stretch of real estate in Spokane, arguably historically, right? Now that we're raising and we're looking at these, we have to be so picky with these projects. And so some of the difficulty is we're turning away a lot of projects. And so by the time we get to these ones, raising the funds and getting them in, I think that's been the more challenging part. But I think getting it all set up and getting all the legal in place, and that's where people like David have obviously helped this all be possible. So nothing easy about it, but I think what's fun is that we can take some of that hard work and allow people access to products otherwise you wouldn't have looked at. And it really came to fruition because normally somebody would come in, they would have some money, and I'd say, hey, just go buy a single family home. You're going to buy it for $250, you're going to rent it for $1,800 to $2,000. Just get a few of those. That's a great little offset for you. Well, what happened was our market increased so much where that's not even really an option anymore. You can't cash flow most single family homes you buy. And so it started moving into this world of the best thing for them would be apartments, but it's really hard to get access. And so our hope with a product like this is we're giving people that access and that transparency and that ability to kind of see it, and then ultimately see where their dollars are invested locally. So then that money goes right into a product that directly benefits the Spokane and all the residents. So that's the longest answer I've ever had to a short question, but I think that sums it up, at least for me. So those are the initial questions there. If we get more in, we'll send on the follow-up, but just want to thank you guys for being on the call, and love to get the information to you, and we'll follow up from here. But excited about the West Cora project and bringing another one to Spokane.
Yeah, I agree with Jordan. It's a great project, great location. It's got great incentives. It's a great infill site, and just a tremendous opportunity.
All right. If you have any questions, reach out. If you want more information, please reach out or set up the tours. You might even get my wonderful tour guide. I have some sweet jokes as I move through the thing. So if you're lucky enough, we'll get that too. But reach out. We'd love to show you more, even if it's just curiosity. Look forward to hear from you.